Okay, we are going to learn about decision trees in this lesson. If you have not downloaded the slideshow that has the three lessons on it, you will need to do that now in Notability. This will be one slideshow for the decision trees, force field analysis, and Gantt charts. If you've already downloaded it for force field and Gantt charts, you don't need to do that again. You will be able to find this in the Toolkit lesson on Canvas. So go to Canvas and download that. If you need to pause your screen to get it into Notability or ready to go, please do that now. All right. So again, as an AO2 and an AO4 toolkit lesson, we need to be able to analyze a decision tree. We need to be able to um, look at one, understand what it's saying, read it, also analyze the positives and negatives of it. But we also need to be able to construct one to the AO4 level. So we will have lots of practice on that in class. All right, so decision trees, some key things you need to know is that in a decision tree, when you see a square, you're going to see a decision node. A decision node means that the business is making a decision over more than one option, two or more. The business has some control over that because they are making that decision. As for a circle, chance node. A chance node means that there are different possible outcomes of a decision that a business is looking at. So you will have at least two or more routes or outcomes from there. This is an area that the business does not have direct control over. And so being a chance node is a circle, it is something that could go multiple ways. Every chance node will have probability, and each chance node will have probability that adds up to 100%, which we'll look at a very, very simplistic example next. You will then deduct the cost of each outcome before making any calculations to find out the return. And then you will mark off each unwanted branch by drawing two parallel lines through that. Again, very confusing, but I'll show you a simplistic example and we will go through a little bit of it and definitely practice it as when we're together. All right, so taking a look at this example, please ignore any of the numbers that are at the expected return because we're missing a lot of other numbers on here as well. And so what you see here is that node one, and you do not need to number your nodes, but on this scenario, node one is a square. Going back to the slide before, we know that a square node is a decision point. So the business is deciding in this scenario between option one and option two. You will write the name of what the decision is. So in the example, I'm going to ask you to try. I'm going to ask you to try Kazakhstan versus South Korea. You would actually write Kazakhstan up here and South Korea here as your options. Below that, you then put the cost in parentheses. The cost of the option is given to you. All of this is typically given to you in a table. So it's pretty straightforward to be able to find that information. So you'll put the cost of each option below. At that point, then you have two circle nodes. If we go back to what circle nodes mean, that means there's a chance. So option one has the chance of either, in this example, a high return or a low return. Again, you use the chances given to you. So the tables will tell you the high return versus the low return. And so you can have more than two chances, like chance outcomes. It could be high, medium, low. It could be something totally different. So you could have three, you could have two, but you will have two or more. Besides each of the chances, you have a probability. So they're given to you as 60/40. And again, this is all given to you. I'm just showing you what it looks like when it is created and constructed. That adds up to 100%. What we are saying here is that the probability of a high return in this scenario is 60%. The probability of a low return in this scenario is 40%. And then lastly, we have an expected net return, or expected return, excuse me, expected return. The expected return is what we think this is going to bring us in. So we expect the return for a high return with the probability at 2 million and then 5 million here at a low return at 40%. And so again, ignore these numbers. These are, we don't have the costs. We don't have a lot of other things. So just kind of ignore the numbers. These are just an example. All right, so in this scenario, then we have our option. Let me go backwards. We have our decision. option one or option two. Each option has a chance. This one only has two. Each has a probability and each has an expected return. From there, you need to do some calculations. And so we will discuss how to find the return calculations in class. So we will do all the math and the calculated net return that goes right over here in the green section next to the decision node. So we will figure out how to do that together. By class time, I want you to see if you can lay this out correctly for the example that I'm going to give you. So again, you are going to look down here at option two. Same thing. I have that second decision. Same thing, cost in parentheses below. I have a chance of a high, low return in this scenario, and I have the same percentages. Those can actually change. The thing that's important is that every chance node has 100% total in terms of probabilities. And then you see an expected return or loss in the scenario. So what this shows you then is that I am deciding between two options. Each option has a chance of a high or a low return. Each of those have probabilities specific to them, and then an expected return that I have forecasted. You will see one more thing that is right here over option one, and these are two little marks through option one. Those marks are rejected outcomes. That means if I do my math and I calculate this net return versus this net return, I reject the option or the branch that has the lowest calculated net return. All right, so again, this is probably a little confusing. When we walk through it together, it'll get much easier. I just need you to be able to set these up coming into class so we can practice. This is a very simple example. This has one decision with only two options. There are times where you're going to see more than one decision and multiple options, which will be a lot more difficult to set up. Once you set it up, though, it's pretty simple and the information is given to you. So let's take a look at the key. Again, every decision tree you create will have a key that goes with it to show that the square is the decision node or decision point. The circle is the possible outcomes or the chance node. And then the mark through the branch is known as the rejected option or options, depending on how many options we have. A typical rubric that is used for this makes sure that you have an accurately constructed decision tree. Your calculations are correct and well presented. You have a key. You need to have a key and you need to show your work. We're going to talk through what that work looks like in class, but you definitely do need to have a key and show your work, which is again something we will talk through. All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to click on the link to this case study, and I want you to simplistically draw what you believe to be a decision tree for these two scenarios. The one thing I will tell you is you'll have one decision node with two options. It'll look very similar to what we did on the slide before when I went over that other decision tree. It gives you the cost. It gives you the probability of a high return and a low return, and it gives you what the expected revenue for the very end of your decision tree should be. All you need to do is construct it. You don't have to do any other questions. Just construct it coming into class, and then we will walk through the math that goes along with it in a more difficult example. Okay, back to my screen. There we go. Okay, sorry. There are many advantages and disadvantages to decision trees, like other tools that we've learned this year so far and other tools. It does look at problems in a clear and logical manner. And when I say problems, I really mean decision options. You can see the options at the same time. It puts it all in one area so you can kind of speed up some decisions. And it has that probability, considers risk, negative outcomes. Visuals, actually every toolkit for force field, Gantt, and decision trees that have been part of this week's lessons are visuals, which can be very helpful. These probabilities, however, are estimates, so there could be really big forecasting errors. We definitely can't be positive that a high return, low return in this scenario is best, 60-40, or whatever it is. So that can have some problems. We typically just look at quantitative issues here. So when we're looking at quantitative issues, we're ignoring that qualitative ethical side. There could be, again, subjectivity or deliberate bias. If I'm a manager and I really am leaning towards one project or decision, I may potentially skew the numbers a little bit just because it may make that look better. That's not the best way to do a decision tree, but it is possible. And again, delays or externalities, all that stuff um, could void the data. So just keep that in mind. As we go back to the first slide again for this, and you click on decision trees, I've just given you a place that has templates that can help you with certain things. This is the decision tree. There are many things that you may look at as you are trying to come up with certain tools for certain classes across the board or in here or in your internal assessment. So that is linked for you there. That concludes the lesson on decision trees, and we will begin to practice them in class on next week. Should I say next week? Thank you and have a good day.